The Sadharanikaran Model of Communication is primarily rooted to Natya Shastra by Bharat Muni. The time of Natya Shastra is not certain as it goes to antiquity. Another principal text that has been drawn on while constructing the Sadharanikaran Model of Communication is Vakyapadiya by Bhartrihari, which is considered about 2000 years old. So these two ancient texts written in Sanskrit, Natya Shastra and Vakyapadiya, these are principal sources while theorizing Sadharanikaran Model of Communication. So it was constructed in 2003. If we see the original document, the dissertation I submitted as part of my Masters in Mass Communication and Journalism, then Natya Shastra and Vakyapadiya, these two ancient texts have been reviewed and relevant aspects have been taken from these texts and construction of the Sadharanikaran Model of Communication was done. So, I come from a family background which is rich in Vedic rituals and knowledge systems. My father was very prominent scholar of Sanskrit. So, I can say from the childhood, I got exposure to Sanskrit texts and Vedic Hindu rituals. So the culture in which I lived, that is obviously enriched with Hindu tradition. So a kind of affection towards that was obviously there. But formally, I was first a student of science and technology. But from the my early years in the college, I was also working in journalism. When Nepal witnessed a historic moment in which Masters in Mass Communication and Journalism a course was initiated in Nepal, then I thought, why not to join this discipline in which I have been already working on. So I switched from science background to mass communication and journalism. But before switching into mass communication and journalism academically, I was quite active in writing. Many articles and few books were already published. And one of the major areas I used to write was on Hinduism, various aspects of Nepali society, culture, Hindu Dharma, and so on. So, a kind of critical point of view was already developed with me whenever I used to see anything like a university curriculum or any other books or even, let us say, movies, then I would analyze from indigenous perspective. So when I joined Masters in Mass Communication and Journalism, and when the reading materials were supplied to us, then I found that the reading materials, starting from the curriculum to textbooks, they were heavily West-centric. So you may say indigenous contents were virtually absent. Later on, I came to learn that was the norm everywhere in the world. The discipline which is called communication, that was institutionalized in the US, and then a kind of linear expansion of that discipline happened to other countries. So Nepal was not an exception. It was the same in, let us say, other Asian countries or African countries or even South American countries. So when I saw that, that struck me. And during conversation, I raised that point with the teachers as well as friends. And many of them took that in a surprising way, and some of them even ridiculed me. They said that you have come to such discipline, mass communication and journalism, and here you are finding something from our ancient time, Sanskrit literature, let us say, and own culture. No, mass communication and journalism is something that is borrowed from the West, and we shall be happy with whatever we are supplied with, they said. But I was not satisfied. So you may say from that point, when some of my friends actually, laughed at me, then I thought, okay, I'll search. There must be something that is relevant to communication discipline, because we had such developed civilization, the philosophical systems, starting from the mainstream Vedic schools, Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Mimamsa and Vedanta, and other schools like Buddhism, Jainism, and Charvaka system. We have well-developed philosophical systems, and philosophy may not be lacking insights that would be useful for communication. So that was my, in a way, conviction at that time. So I kept on exploring, and then I was exposed to an article by J.S. Yadav, in which he discussed that the concept of Sadharanikaran may be useful for theorizing communication. In fact, it is relevant for this discipline, and that inspired me a lot. Then I continued. Then I read Natya Shastra and Vakyapadiya originally. Then I came to know that while explaining the Rasa Sutra in Natya Shastra, Bhattanayaka in fact theorized that Rasa Sutra and came up with the theory of Sadharanikaran. And then I worked further, taking further insights from Vakyapadiya as well, and in 2003 the outcome was the Sadharanikaran model of communication. So there are so many communication theories and models, and virtually all of them were, let us say, in the modern time, constructed, developed and institutionalized in the West, and the non-Western countries, they simply continued that. Okay, that was a kind of linear expansion. So the common characteristics among those theories and models was they were heavily dominated by Western discursive paradigm. There was a kind of one-sidedly presumed universality and totalizing tendency. Okay, let us take this theory and this will be applicable to any condition. And some scholars came with the concept of indigenization. Okay, that theory shall be localized. Let us adapt that theory in the local context. But when discourse moved on, then scholars realized that no, every society has its unique features. Every culture has its own characteristics, and communication and culture, they are so bound together that communication is highly influenced by, or we may say, cannot be separated from culture. So from that perspective, there was a need of constructing communication theories and models from our own cultural location. So the first and foremost thing that distinguishes Sadharanikaran model of communication from other hundreds of communication models is that it is the diagrammatic representation and illustration of the communication process as envisioned in Hindu society, or you may say Bharatvarsha society. So that is the very first thing. But that very first thing has consequences which is far-reaching. For instance, the role of the communicating parties, it will be completely different. For instance, what is the goal of communication? If you take the communication model from the West, that may not incorporate the three-dimensional goals: Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, and Adhyatmika. And the goals would be Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. So here, any Shastra would lead ultimately to Moksha. Before the construction of Sadharanikaran Model of Communication, communication discipline was not able to, let us say, explain this aspect of Hindu society. But with the construction and development of this model, now here is one communication model which explains Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, and Adhyatmika, all of these dimensions of human life, communication dynamics related to all of them, and goal related to them. And one very important aspect that it explains is how communication is possible in such a diverse society. That has been possible since millennia. Okay, Bharatvarsha, that includes Nepal, India, and many other countries, and that is very diverse. There is hierarchy as well. We can see asymmetry. But despite all these, there is a living civilization since millennia. Without sophisticated communication system, without a highly developed communication theory, communication philosophy, it is not possible to have such a developed civilization. That means there is some mechanism related to communication. There is some philosophy. There is some theory. In fact, we can say these in plurals: philosophies and theories regarding communication. So it represents that. So, for instance, even the encoding aspect, if you see from the perspective of Veda, then it shall be of fourfold: Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, Vaikari. So, but if you take, let us say, modern psychology, then it may be of just 2 layers. Likewise, I can give numerous examples that distinguishes Sadharanikaran Model of Communication from other communication models developed from the West. But in essence, what we can say, it is enriched with culture, philosophy, and practices of Bharatvarsha, or we may say Hindu society. When Sadharanikaran Model of Communication was constructed, I got to completely opposing feedback on it. Some appreciated. For them, the idea of exploring ancient texts and making them relevant in the modern discipline, and then coming up with a diagrammatic model which is visible. Okay, for the first time, the idea itself was very fantastic. Okay, so they celebrated. Let us say, some of my teachers, some of my colleagues, the academic fraternity, firstly in Nepal, then in India and the West. They celebrated. But it was especially in case of Nepal, some of the people whom I mentioned earlier, they were very doubtful that there could be anything relevant on mass communication and journalism from our ancient wisdom. So they did not like this idea. For this, okay, theorists shall be something from let us say Eurocentric paradigm. How can a person among ourselves can claim as a theoretician or theorist. So some of them they criticized, and for them it was much bigger claim that should not have been done by any person from Nepal. Yeah, they said even Indians, even Chinese, they haven't dared. How can a guy from Nepal can claim? And some of them said it will not stand against the let us say academic evaluation by the global academic fraternity. That was what they said. But as time goes on, this was published in various languages from different countries. Various universities, they started incorporating this into their curricula, and very prominent scholars, even very senior professors, they started writing on Sadharanikaran Model of Communication. Not only citing that, but actually using this as theoretical framework and doing further research. So when this happened, then I can see many of the doubters or critics, now they have turned as admirers. So when I see in Nepal, in India, in Indonesia, and some part of the West, those who are exposed to this Sadharanikaran Model of Communication, now they have started not only appreciating this, but actually working on this, using this as theoretical framework and using for their further research. So the global mainstreaming, in a way, it's happening. If people start working in the field of non-Western communication theories, then it has become a kind of milestone. And some of the writers I have seen, some of the scholars, some of them very senior, they have mentioned this as an epitome of non-Western, or some use indigenous communication theorization. So whenever I see that, it has been included in the International Encyclopedia of Communication Theory and Philosophy. It has been included in curricula of various universities across the world. And so many scholars, they have been doing further research on it, and the number of publications by myself may be fewer in number, but others who have quoted, cited, or further used Sadharanikaran model, it is vastly increasing. So in that way, it is giving immense pleasure to me. Now I do not see this as my personal, let us say, thing. It has been institutionalized. Like my own university, where I have been working since 18 years, it has completely owned it, and it has organized an international seminar on 2 decades of the Sadharanikaran Model of Communication. So the whole university is celebrating this. And academics from different countries, they are also celebrating this. So in a way, Sadharanikaran Model of Communication is going to the mainstream of the global academia, and more than that, what is very important is it has inspired many young scholars to explore, let us say, indigenous sources, and reorientation is actually happening. So there were scholars who actually started de-Westernization, who wanted to have critical discussion on the Western communication theories. They wanted to have multiculturalism, multidisciplinarity, and they wanted to explore Hinduism, Buddhism, not only, let us say, Judeo-Christian tradition, not only limiting to, let us say, Euro-American discursive paradigm. They wanted to shift the focus to Asian cultures as well. Likewise, African cultures, or you may say South American, and any other. So with the advent of this model, the process of reorientation has got a definite shape, and it has encouraged so many other scholars to conduct research in indigenous fashion. So this is what gives me most satisfaction to me.
So you batanan all start by the matter and cost of wine. Will you get the minutes it will a cool way that couldn't kick him out as me and some other person?
Whenever people ask me about the future prospects of Sadharanikaran Model of Communication, then I'm very much hesitant to speak on that, because we don't know. When I actually worked on this model, I did not know that it will go this much. Okay, but people have embraced this. Academic fraternity has been using this, and what I can say is academics from different disciplines, very diverse disciplines, they have been using it, which I was, let us say, not imagining at that time. This could be useful in that area as well. So it has gone to very diverse areas. People have been using this. So there is one concept of Sarvatantra theory in Charaka Samhita. So there are different theories according to Charaka, and Sarvatantra theory is such theory which goes beyond the disciplinary boundaries, and in fact it can be generalized in such a way that it will be useful for virtually all the disciplines of knowledge. So the trend so far shows that people are actually liking this model, and they have tried to apply this model to different disciplines. And if this continues, then there is prospect of it becoming Sarvatantra theory applicable to, let us say, many diverse disciplines. Another area is to have its application. So it is fundamental or basic research primarily. Okay, so theorization is there, but many scholars have started discussing about its practical implications. So this side will obviously lead us to the area of applied research. I am expecting to see application of Sadharanikaran Model of Communication in various applied sectors.
So I want to mention that video in person. So we could make one face of participate in so working on by the big people. And he covering his circuits at primarily on Sunday, brother, but scholars, the real observers, like that. And you upon principles, I'm not over any for it until my keenness things out.
So the construction and development of the Sadharanikaran Model of Communication is not to reinforce the binary division of West versus Rest. So the East-West dichotomy, it is there. It is living reality. We also discuss about this. Even I have discussed about this. But the goal of this theorization is not that. We shall move to reorientation and finally to reconciliation. So the useful knowledge, irrespective of whether it is from the West or the East, they have to be used by humankind. So I urge all of the academic fraternity to work on indigenous theories, but not to let us say ignite identity politics. So it is for, let us say, enriching the disciplines, enriching human mind, and in fact to find some sort of reconciliation among the diverse societies, including the East and the West. Thank you.